America do a TikTok. They can't wait to put you keeping them in business. See, here's the other thing, man. Here, let me say this. You done got my blood pressure up. Look, man,
I'm sorry, man.
That is the stupidest thing. I don't even want to open this door up, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Okay.
Do it. Kick it open.
So we were the hardest working people coming out of slavery. And I know we don't want to talk about slavery, right? I get it. It's a long time ago. But that's where that entitlement mentality came from. So we went from builders to people who were distraught looking for answers to entitlement. And then the Democrat Party walks in and says, hey, we'll give you that. All you got to do is vote for us. I like that religion. He wasn't a warlord. He didn't have a bunch of hands. Okay, he wasn't
right.
You know, I like the carpenter. The carpenters, I like what he was doing, and so that's what. But go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say. So I've mentioned this on my channel before. I said all these different things that we're talking about, culture and politics and family structure, all that kind of stuff, are all downstream from one particular question, and that one question is, who is God? By you answering that question, who is God? All the other things have a north. All the other things have they have a compass now, and they can start lining back up because as you just mentioned here, by you recognizing who God is, it now deals with, you can look at the culture. And you know what a degenerate culture is because you know who God is. You know what a proper family structure is because you know who God is. And all of that stuff can line up. And once you answer that question, your politics and everything else can at least have a bearing, right. At least have a true north that they can point to. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody's going to agree about politics. I don't mean everybody's going to agree about quote unquote the culture. And we can have a discussion about that. But some of the things that we're talking about are so outside of the bounds of even a semblance of decent discussion. We're not talking about whether or not you like this type of music or over this type of music, you know, skinny Luther versus fat Luther. We're not talking about that. We're talking about whether or not we should sing an anthem about robbing and stealing. Like, how are we having an honest discussion about whether or not it's okay to promote a song about stealing and robbing on the heels of that young boy getting shot in South Carolina because they thought he was stealing? Like, how do we square that peg? How do you do that? So, brother. I didn't mean to talk about it, but we might have to talk about that song too. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, my skin, you're going to get arrested. There's cops all around the world doing TikTok videos. America doing TikTok. They can't wait to put you keeping them in business. See, here's the other thing, man. Here, let me say this. You done got my blood pressure up. Look, man, that is
I'm sorry, man.
That is the stupidest thing that I've ever heard. Why would you make a song about create an anthem about stealing and robbing? I mean, who do you work for the CIA? Do you work for the FBI? Because clearly she's the in crowd, right? But us, you know, we spoons and boule, and because we trying to keep you out of prison. So us telling you that's wrong is holding you back from your freedoms, I guess. But here's what happens. Let me tell you something. There's something called what is Geo Civic? Is that what you ever heard of Geo? This prison stock. You know, the prison stock. Go ahead and invest in it because that song right there is going to help you become a lot richer. Okay, because we're going to put anybody who gets, you know, boosted scammers, we're going to put them in jail, and we're going to
put the boosted scammers in jail.
See, remember I said we got to dilute the toxicity? Well, some of those people are going to have to go to prison because we don't want you around here robbing us because you start robbing grocery stores. Next thing you know, you robbing us and carjacking, and now you can't get a job, and now you want to run in our house and all these other things. See, it leads to something. You enter into that criminal world, it's hard to get out. There's a lot of dudes in prison right now for something stupid. They did 35 years for something stupid, 50 years. There's some dudes in there, they got 250. That means they're going to die, get buried, dug up, brought back to life, put back in prison. You keep listening to these people if you want to. You keep on listening to these fashionable songs and, you know, if you want to, and you are going to end up dead or in prison. Okay. And that's it. So, and you can't help some of them, brother. You cannot. And I hate to be a nihilist like this, but the reality is I've realized that you can't help everybody. And whether their skin is your skin color or whatever, and it's sad to see it, but some people hard-headed. They don't believe fat meat is greasy, and you cannot help them. Okay, what you have to do as a parent, what you have to do as a parent, when you hear that dumb song on the radio, you say, look, you hear that dummy right there? That's the dummy that you don't listen to. You can bop your head to it all you want, but that's the type of degenerate culture, and you make an example out of that stupidity. And then what'll happen is your children will grow up and they'll be able to recognize stupidity on their own, and they'll say, nah, that's stupid. I'm not, why would I be in here?
Why would I do that?
Yeah, that's crazy. You're going to lose your life. You're going to be in there with them thugs and criminals. They're going to have you braiding hair and washing underwear, sir. Lady, you're going to be in there with them. Lady, you want to be a booster and a scammer, you're going to be in there with them strong women. Oh, you're going to be them strong.
Dennis is wild. Dennis is wild. No, I'm right there with you.
I shouldn't say that, man. But yeah, it's why would you do that? Why would you? You can make more money on the internet. You can make more. You can literally sell cupcake recipes on the internet and make $5 a pop. You see what I'm saying? Like, people, you have access to everything in the world. You what is it called? You can drop sell things.
Drop ship.
Yeah,
man. You can sit here and talk. You can talk loud in your studio outside your kitchen and make a pretty nice living, bruh. Like, the opportunities, and matter of fact, this is my little soapbox. The opportunities available to us would blow our grandparents' literal minds.
Yes.
Wait, what do you mean? What you mean? JJ sits in his house and he talks loud and he looks at a camera and he takes care of his family with that? What you talking about, baby? Mama, this is what I do. Hey, Daddy Jules, this is what I do. I retire from teaching and I sit in my office outside of my kitchen. I talk loud and I take care of my family. Daddy Jules will be like, what are you talking about, boy?
And see, here's the thing, man. The problem is we gotta, and I don't even want to open this door up, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Okay,
do it. Kick it open.
So we were the hardest working people coming out of slavery. And I know we don't want to talk about slavery, right? I get it. It's a long time ago. But in 1864, 1865, we built churches, we built schools, we educated our children. We tried to learn. You had old people trying to learn just so they could read the Bible. And so we built and we built and we built and we built, and we got so good at it. We had congressmen, and down in Washington, D.C., you had dozens of black congressmen. You had PBS Pinchback. He was a governor of Louisiana, black man. Okay, a lot of these men were former slaves, but they educated themselves. I often talk about my great-great-grandfather, George Washington Jones, Sr. He went to Rusk College in Mississippi, born on a plantation, became a lawyer. He represented white.
All right, how are you doing, brother?
I'm good. So I'm gonna pick right back up where I left off, so you can cut it if you need to.
For sure.
So my great grandfather, who was a lawyer. Bottom line is, we were the hardest working people in America. Okay.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
1865 happened. So we got congressmen. 1865 to 1900, or 11 years later, Reconstruction ends. Okay. So the northern troops move out of the South. We're dealing with the racial terror. It's bad, but we're still building, we're still owning, we're still farming. We're still hardworking people, hardest working. Because remember, before slavery, white folks, there's a great man I just been introduced to about 4 years ago named Thomas Sowell. And he said something to the effect that white men wouldn't do work. It was a black man's job to do work. That's not something white men would do. So guess who would do it? The builders were now free, and the builders were building for themselves. That's how we built thousands of schools, thousands of churches, thousands of neighborhoods, thousands of HBCUs. We were entrepreneurs. We were capitalists. We were the epitome of capitalists. Okay,
no argument for me.
Working to make other capitalists rich. Now here comes 1919. You got a lot of poor white people who just moved to the community. They just moved to America. They came in. They jealous. And so they see the success of black people, and unfortunate, the scourge of prejudice and racism, which was rampant at that time. I'm not talking about, oh, somebody looked at me wrong. I'm talking about they had signs up. I don't know if you know. I know you're in Georgia, but they had signs up that said, you don't belong here. Okay, so it was racism in your face. You couldn't live where you want. You couldn't get educated. So we had to build. But the bottom line is, we still were extremely successful people. People got angry. They began to do things. They tore things down. They burned. We always hear about Tulsa, Oklahoma. We hear about Rosewood. We hear about the atrocities. And what that did was it made Black people, not all, because see, Tulsa was rebuilt in less than 20 years. They never tell you
People
that.
don't realize that. Yeah.
It was rebuilt. So we built again. But the bottom line, it gave enough ammo to people in New York City. It gave enough ammo to people, a lot of intellectuals. There's a book called by Carter G. Woodson called The Miseducation of the Negro. He was talking about the educated elite who said, oh, well, see, capitalism didn't work because, see, they just burnt all your stuff down. And meanwhile, you got the Black man selling fruit on the stand or doing carpenter work, making money, and you got the rich elite saying, oh, no, that capitalism was going to fail. But bottom line is it gave enough ammunition to people around the 1920s that they began to sell this idea that the answer to Black America's problems is socialism and communism and Marxism and to be anti-capitalist and generally speaking, anti-American. And so from about the 1920s to the 1970s, we were sold on the idea that we need to take from the rich and give to the poor. The rich being the white people and the poor being the Black people. Even though we had entrepreneurs and we were doing well for ourselves, you couldn't tell them that. And so now you got a strong contingent of Black people who have occupied academia who said, yeah, let's just follow that philosophy. So that went on. And then in the 1970s, or 60s, it came out, you had the so-called Black Power movement. Now, I don't think it was Black empowerment. I think it was Black victimhood. Okay, we're going to, you look, and I know this is controversial to say, but you had a lot of people who bit into that. Whether we're talking about Paul Robeson, W.B. Du Bois, the Black Panther Party. Basically, they were indoctrinating the children into this. The government owes you something, and so now in walks the Democrat Party. Okay, and look, I've been a Democrat my whole life, but they figured if we sell this strong contingent of Black people, there's not all Black people, but we tell them we'll give them something in the form of welfare, Section 8, WIC, TANF, whatever, then that'll be justice to them. That's the justice that they feel they're owed to. That's us taking from the rich and giving to the poor because the intellectuals had already sown the seeds that they are entitled to something. So that's where that entitlement mentality came from. So we went from builders to people who were distraught looking for answers to entitlement. And then the Democrat Party walks in and says, hey, we'll give you that. All you got to do is vote for us. And then what happens in Clinton came in office in 1992. They start bringing back the welfare. And they said, oh, you're taking something from us. So now we're victims because you took something that was justice to us that we were entitled to. And since that time period, now we have a bunch of people who feel entitled. Now, what happens when you take something from somebody that they feel they're entitled to? Now they're angry. They have to go take it into their hands and they want to get this vigilante justice. Society doesn't work for me. It's all bad. I don't have to pay the law. And then you get a bunch of degenerate culture saying I can do whatever I want to do because society owes me something that is not given to me. And just like that. But see, you can't tell academics that because they paid for those PhDs. They still making money on selling books. They still making money on appearing on these podcasts and these different shows and selling the same story that capitalism doesn't work, even though we are the richest group of people of African descent on the planet. Capitalism clearly works for Black Americans. It clearly
works.
But you can't tell them that, despite the fact that they're riding around in their German car with their $2,000 cell phone and they fat bodies, okay, and they bad kids who are spoiled to death, okay, who sleep all day, and so that's what we're dealing with, and it's not every Black. And when you try to tell them otherwise, they call you boule. Oh, you just like that because you're a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. You a sellout. You like that because you rich now. You too rich and removed. No, I'm like that because that's the reality that we live in. And unfortunately, brother, and I'm gonna say it like this, and I'm not gonna hold you up all day. Some people just gonna need a kick in the back. Some people just need that hard reality. You're gonna do it because you have to do it. So
you gotta do it. Right.
When welfare ends, that'll help end the degenerate customer because either you're gonna work or starve. And I hate to be like that, right? When people start saying, no, we're not. No, you can't use Section 8 anymore. No, there's no, and I hate to say this, it's so sad. It's so sad to say this. But nah, unless you have good enough grades, you're not gonna get in this school. Maybe you should go to the junior college.
I've been saying that.
I'm just saying, if you want to end the dependency and you want to wake people up, you're going to have to cut down on this entitlement. But see, as long as you have a Democrat Party who's willing to pay folk for to continue with that sort of entitled mindset, that's where they're going to go. Now, here's the crazy thing. I'm going to tell you something, and I know you have stuff to do because I know you're a busy man. But they tried that with the Latinos. It didn't work because Latinos recognize socialism. They recognize it in Venezuela. They recognize it in Cuba. You see what I'm saying? And so the Democrats are, well, we'll just give them money too. And they're like, nah, we're not going to vote. We still not going to vote for you. That's why you have the majority of Hispanic men voting for Donald Trump. You see what I mean? It's all playing out, man. It's all playing out. And I thank God that I could really sit back and see it. And, man, it's just what I see, and you can be mad, not you, but people could be mad at me for pointing it out. But I think as other people see it, they may have just not formulated the thought. But this entitlement attitude, this degenerate culture came from somewhere, because this was not us in the 1950s. This is not what we were doing. A woman got pregnant, they sent her down south, had that baby. That baby belonged to the auntie that didn't have any kids. That auntie raised that child as her own child. We had shame in the community. We look how we dress. Our kids used to wear. We would be in our Sunday best. And brother, like, the only reason the civil rights movement was able to move forward is because they specifically planned to have Black people dressed in their Sunday best, showcasing themselves in their best, putting their best foot forward. And then those people like in Alabama and Selma, they put water hoses and dogs on it. It was filmed, broadcast across the world, and people said, shame on you for what you're doing to these good people. If you march a bunch of these YNs down the middle of Selma, you hear me? They be like, good, get them, put the dogs on. You
put the dogs on them.
Because they like the image is everything. You look at you, look how you dress. You looking like a degenerate. You talking like a degenerate. You act like a degenerate. We understand why they don't want you walking down their street, as opposed to good, hardworking church going folk who are just looking for the basic rights that they've earned.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the JWhit Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment, because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.